Okay, so let's get started today. So this is our first ever talk show on Bookaholics with Lalita and Shesh. So we are just going to talk about the topic is just a minute. Someone is just pinging me. Okay. So is there a rising trend towards singlehood or fairy tale marriage still exists? So Lalita is Karma's child, as she believes, and she has had several avatars as an insurer, as a business analyst, and she is currently running a literary agency called First Foray, where she helps the authors of fiction and non-fiction books to get published. And Shesh, she was a housewife for first 16 years. Then she was a trainer in business communication and soft skills in many companies outside Maharashtra. And last, as an author of short stories, which was published in USA and India, and she also has written a novel. She is also associated with many NGOs, reaching out to the society through conversational English. So let's not wait and let me add both of them here. Hi Sesh, hi Lalita, thanks for joining in today.
Hi, Jigna, and hi, everyone who joined.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining. So I think we have a very bold topic to talk on today, and I think there is a lot of things to hear from both of you. So I think let's get started. And just to all the viewers, in case if you have any messages or any questions in between, please post in the comments, and we will read out to both Sesh and Lalita, and they will answer your queries. Okay, over to you.
Okay, good evening, friends. Thank you for joining us. Lalita and I seem to be talking on this subject endlessly. Uh, I'd like to start on a positive note because I think, however serious a subject may be, we can always enjoy by making it light. And I'd start with a story which really happened in my life. I was married for one day, and there was a reception which my parents were holding for our wedding, and there was a brigadier and Mrs. Auntie. Uh, they knew me from probably I was 6 year old or 7 year old. They came to me, congratulated me, and said, Tesh, your marriage will be a honeymoon always. I looked at her, couldn't understand or figure out what she was saying. But what I realized, I said, but why do you say that, Auntie? Because I mean, she was much older. She said, because your husband and you are separated so often. Each time you meet, it's going to be a honeymoon afresh, and your marriage will be rejuvenated. True to her words, it was very prophetic. Not that we had a fairy tale wedding, because no marriage is fairy tale, but I would say we both evolved as two good individuals, and we didn't go parallel our ways. We converged on many issues, and I would say it was a fairy tale marriage if you look at it in the overall picture. Now, Lalita, I would like to ask you a question. What do you feel about the story which I've told you? It's a wonderful story, and who wouldn't like to have a fairy tale wedding and a fairy tale marriage? But more often than not, we are more focused on the wedding itself, what you're going to wear, what are we going to eat. We don't really know, uh, at least from the generation that I come from, you didn't really know the partner so well, and you didn't know much about other than their family in terms of their own vision for their own life. And what happens is pretty often the women, especially from traditional households like me, are expected to toe the line. But then you are an educated thinking woman, and the legacy, hundreds of years of thinking women ahead of me. And you have a vision for yourself. And sometimes that vision doesn't get a chance to fructify. And then what happens are all the challenges, I think, because of that. Uh,
That's about.
But according to me, no institution or relationship is good or bad. It is what we make of it, because it's our choice. Whether we decide to live single, we want to get married, we want to stay together, living in, as we call it today. But this has come because of education for the woman and economic independence. But that brings me to an interesting question, Lalita. If you look at your grandparental generation, would you say those women without education didn't have happy associations and relationships?
I've been thinking about it since we talk so much about it, and I'm thinking about my grandmother, especially my great grandmother on the maternal side, what I've heard from my aunts and from my mother. And what I realized is, while they were to a great extent victims of the society norms, they were victims of society norms. Both of them were young widows.
Okay.
And at that time, young widows, Tamilian young widow, and I think it's the same with everybody, was made to wear this drab brown color sari, was not allowed to wear colored clothes, no jewelry, no flowers, not to attend, functions in the house, weddings. You were seen as somebody who brought bad luck. So not only did they lose their husband, every day they were made to be reminded about their loss. But despite which, these women, and if my grandmother had lived today, she died, she would be more than 120 years old. And so is my great grandmother on the maternal side. But both of them, they had landed property. They had all the tillers who were mostly men. They ran that show pretty well. They were a matriarch in all purposes, despite living within they didn't challenge those society norms of, you should live like this, you're a widow, and you should never forget about this, and nobody should ever forget about this. And I am seeing slowly that thing, that the shackles of society, slowly and surely, shrugging it off. That is what I am seeing.
I look at it, yeah, I agree with you entirely. There were empowered women in those days also. But of course, they had no choice but to be probably at most a matriarch of the family, and people towed their line. But coming to relationships, you see, whether it is single or any other kind, my personal take is there are certain components of a relationship. If we respect those relationships and those components like trust, respect for each other, understanding that we are both changing, we are going through a crisis, these are things which make any association stronger. And it can happen whether it's in a living in or any other situation. I was in Toronto a couple of years back, and I was attending an exports, a trade and exports meet. And one girl, young girl, she was maybe in her 28, 29 years old, and she was talking about me, asking where my husband was, am I married, and all. I told her yes to all the questions she had. Then she said, I want to ask you a question. I said, yeah. She says, my boyfriend and I have been living in for 7 to 8 years now. We want to get married. Do you think I should get married? I laughed because I couldn't imagine her after living in situation, having a happy relationship. Obviously, if she's moving to marriage, I was wondering why did she ask me this question, and I was stumped, and I didn't know whether to advise her or not to advise her, because you see they're culturally different, and she was a white girl. So I told her, look, all things being equal, unless you're marrying for children alone, it's worth it, of course, but you would have to still make a lot of adjustments, because being married and living in, there's a world of difference in the responsibilities in the two relationships. So she said, "Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought things will be as they are." I said, "No, they will not be, because it's not a business transaction. It's for your children, family, and so on. And the whole relationship changes totally." So she says, "Then I'll have to think twice before considering marriage." So the commitment to marriage has reduced, and there is a fear marriages will not work out. What do you have to say on that?
In fact, I look at fear in a very different way.
Okay.
I think it is fear that keeps people trapped. I feel it is fear and insecurity about their own self that keeps them toe the line of what is being going on. Uh, and the insecurity or the fear of having to do everything yourself makes people accommodate things that are not in harmony with their life. That doesn't bring out the best in a relationship. Because there's no point in two people, even in a job. Why do we quit a job? Because things are not going well. Your aspirations are different. It's not meeting those aspirations are not being met, or it is not in harmony. See, in nature, you have to be in harmony with yourself, with your surroundings, with nature. But if it is not, it is, I find, more dignified, somebody who respects their own self, to be independent, but to fight their battles and take care of everything. You cannot say, I'll have this, but everybody else will have to take care of me. And when I say take care, is pay the bills, be capable of paying the bills, having a full life, having a vision for your own life. And finally, if you take Hinduism, which is what both of us are, the way to moksha, the way to salvation, or the purpose of your own life is to rise above the mundane. You're not born here to be a rabbit in a cage, or to be, feeding yourself, growing, then become a grandmother, and then you're dead. At least to me and to a lot of people, there's more to life than that. There's one of seeking. And if there is a discordant note within very close quarters, I feel people who know themselves very well. See, we expect that as a teenager, you know what kind of a career you're going to make. It's not, I mean, at 15 and 16, it's very difficult. Some people realize that later, which is why life begins at 40 for some people. And truly, it began at 40 for myself. I mean, when I realized that, man, I can live my life, So, fear, I think, one, there's always fear of doing something that's not being done within people. But once you do it, it's the most empowering thing. It's the most empowering thing. And from my own personal experience, I think those people who consider themselves equally important, who have the self-image of themselves as very important, while you must compromise, collaborate, whatever, find a middle path, but it cannot be 100% one person compromising. That's where the problem arises, and where there's not a healthy communication, then there is a breakdown. So I feel today's time, why are women and men, especially women in India, I'm noticing, prefer a later marriage. Yeah. When I got married at 25, I was considered very late marriage. And when my daughter got married, that I was like, why are you getting married so early? I agree. So today they know their mind. I think there is that kind of a progression, and many of them are making wonderful partnership. Absolutely. Wonderful. That also is there.
You see, I think we've talked about the nature of relationship, but I would like to look at another angle. In all these relationships, what leads to the negativity is solitude and loneliness. You see, that loneliness kills you. For example, it's a very stupid thing, which I'm going to say, in any marriage it happens. you say, what do you think I should wear? And you take out from the wardrobe a whole lot of clothes, Hey, come on, do what you like, wear what you like. By now you should know what I'd like, what you like, what I like you to wear. See, firstly, he has said, do what you like. Has he given you liberty, or has he made you feel, come on, yeah, you're not even capable of doing this much? On the other hand, if he said, look, our tastes are different, I like you as you are, just dress the way you want to, it's fine with me, we will not resent, there'll be no negativity. But what is happening is, with the nature of both husband and wife working, or in a living in relationship, both are working, they come back home, they're tired, stresses of work and so on are there all the time. So what happens is, they're reactive to everything. This reactiveness is leading to a lot of psychological problems, and also they come to the brink of a breakup. So what do you feel on this?
So those are excellent points. I mean, those are excellent points. There is where this edginess, there is this breakdown, as you say. Definitely, those exist. I also see, the role of technology, especially the internet. If you see, the internet has shrunk the world.
Okay.
In our time, we knew our neighborhood well. Especially as girls, even the boys for that matter, but girls especially, roaming around the streets and exploring was not considered a good trait.
Right.
Knowing your neighborhood was not considered a good trait.
Yeah.
But today, with technology, especially the World Wide Web, with everything, the Google Mama, and everything else that the internet provides, the world has come into your drawing room.
Yeah.
So our visions, our understanding, stories in Siberia or stories in my daughter's place, Kiev, or any of this, are some things that we know about. We read about it, and there is a connection, and then we realize that people everywhere are the same. We tend to brand people as a country, you are like this, but it's never, as people, everybody is the same. So, and I feel this has made the aspirations of everybody, boy, girl, man, woman, a lot more than it was, say, 30 years ago. Not even 30, I mean, I started working almost 40 years ago. But even then there have been instances, but now there's en masse, because everything is, the world has shrunk. If you go to Rome, you already know the streets of Rome, because you already done your research, you already found out what is where. So given that, I think, how does so the nature of a collaboration or the nature of a relationship has changed. It's not just of providing one another, but definitely something more than that.
Do most women or girls have this courage, Lalita, to face the challenges of being alone?
These are things that somehow I keep thinking about, and I think courage and strength are very important. Most of us, by nature, especially people, traditional families, Indians, we're all very protective towards children.
Right.
But inherently, courage is a quality that we have, but it's innate, and it has to be discovered. I was considered such a darpok that even to get up in the night, from my bedroom and go to the toilet, which was about 50 steps away, I needed somebody I'll wake up the whole house, so they will come, stand at the door, and they have to keep calling my name. And everything else was also, but somehow life made me, had a singular path for me, whether I went to college, riding a bus for 45 minutes and going all by myself, or coming to work. And I found that it's like fish taking to water. Only thing is, like you need water to learn to swim, You need that. You need to put yourself out. You will stumble, you will fail, you will make mistakes. But everybody makes mistakes. It is how what it, but they are all a learning lesson. Right. And I think courage is there for everybody. You just need to seek it.
I think, like an interviewer, I have been asking all the questions. How about you're asking me some questions?
Yes. So, Shesh, you have seen, decades of companionship.
Right.
There's been Nani who stood by you as a rock, and then unfortunately we have lost him, a couple of years back. So, how has that transition been for you, as a person, as well as in dealing with the outside world?
Outside world, I think I've handled beautifully, because probably I come across always as a strong woman and all that. But if you ask my children, they'll say, "Ma, you cry at the drop of a hat. What is there to cry about?" You see, which is true. I mean, they're absolutely right. There's nothing to cry about. But the fact is, I had taken it badly for the simple reason, though we keep on saying between the two, one will go first, the other will go afterwards, but you always wish that you go first. It's like,
So
if
you
you're
don't
gone,
have to
you're
deal
safe,
with.
you're safe.
Yeah.
And the other person, let him do what he likes, sort of thing. But in our case, it turned out to be the other way around. He gave me the slip and left, and I have had to handle it. And I'm blessed to have children who have really stood by me, and they have done all that they can to put me on the rails. And I think I'm slowly but steadily coming back to a normality. And one of the things is, this concept or this idea we are talking today came from a very unusual picture. A couple of months after he was gone, I was thinking to myself, uh, if I had gone, how would he have lived in this house? How would he have behaved? How would he have handled his singlehood as such post the wife? Would he be emotionally shattered? Would he have uh, become antisocial because, again, society labels you? Why is he hanging around? Why is he there in their house so often? Is he having an affair with it? These things may make him a recluse also. So then I thought, I'm sure there are many in this world with different relationships, pluses and minuses, and I thought we would sort of look into that. Let's see how these ideas go. None of us know. But I thought it was something that has to be addressed, because the world is moving towards singlehood more and more, much as we can gloat on the institution of marriage. But I think people are fighting this relationship because of the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law syndrome. Then the parenting aspects. Many say no children, marriage is okay. So we are changing the very face of the institutions now, because, as I said earlier, women's economic independence. Earlier, she had no independence, she couldn't go. Where would she go? Parents don't want her, society doesn't want her. Coming to society, uh, it's not really conclusion, because we're going to have a lot of interactive session, I hope.
No, but I want to ask you one more question.
Please.
I mean, if you don't mind me asking, if you had the chance, which you don't, of course, but if you had in your mind, would you do things very differently with your own life, because you came from a boarding school, college educated, and all of that
family, all said and done. There were lots of do's and don'ts for the girl. Though I could, in a residential school, no problem. I could go out with friends, go for jam sessions. All that was acceptable, but there were do's and don'ts, and they were quite strong, as you said. It's a very similar background. I could go for dances, I could go out, but it meant only two dances. After that, people will start talking. That sort of thing. After you start dancing with the partner, you can't tell him, "Hey, my mother is telling me only two dances. After that, stop." So it's not that. But all over again, if you ask me, I will say there was a juncture in my life when I thought, not so much because of my husband, but because of other factors in the family, I thought, should I divorce? And it was a thought that came to me. I told my father. Of course, I told my husband afterwards. Um, my father asked me three questions. He said, "Yes, if you feel so strongly, but I have three questions for you. is your husband, is he a drunk? No. Does he physically abuse you? No. Does he flirt around with women? I said, no. And he said, why are you losing a gold mine of a husband for some few people or few situations which came, which you can't handle? I thought about it and then I said, yes, my father was right. I was throwing away my marriage for other factors, extraneous factors rather than the two of us. If both of us had some issues or he was not taking care of my children or something, then I have every right to divorce. So what I'm saying is we do come to crossroads in life. Sometimes emotionally we get so carried away, or maybe you want to taste individual freedom or something. That I never thought of because I was married at 19. So it didn't strike me. I always believe, like all parents, happily married ever after sort of thing. But I have two serious questions to ask you. According to me, the road ahead, if we look at, society has a very big role the world over, and in India particularly. It has to learn to respect the feelings and the status and the choices which individuals make in their life without making them victims, without criticizing them, without backbiting about them. Because those fears make many people hang on to whatever relationship they've chosen to have. If you're married at the age of 55, let's say, and you're not happy with that, what is wrong if you break off? Why should people comment on that? It was a choice you have made, rightly or wrongly. Didn't work out, fine. Yeah. But society is ruining the structure, the very fabric of the relationships of singlehood, marriage, widow, whatever it is. It's playing a very big role. And many women are diffident because of the social implications. Yeah. Yeah. And the second thing, many of you won't like what I'm saying. In parenting, a lot has to change in the style of parenting, particularly mothers of sons. Have to prepare them for the life ahead, that the roles have to be shared. They may be exchanged at times because of the work situation, like COVID. Women have still the jobs men don't have, or both of them lose their jobs. So how do they handle these situations if society is going to be the spoil sport? Yeah. So parenting where both children are treated as equal. As my husband used to say, we can't choose a son or a daughter, but we can certainly choose a child and make a good human being of the child. And I can proudly say both the girls are really value-based and I'm proud of them. What are your closing comments, Lalita, before we throw it open to the people?
Yeah, just to go back to the topic, whether there is a trend in singlehood. I mean, we do see that because marriages are becoming later and later.
Yeah.
People are more definitive in their views and they know exactly what they want. Mm-hmm. And even for other people, there is a choice because you want to live in a certain way. You want to be in harmony with your own self more than anything. It's not to prove anything to anybody. And the fairy tale marriages are also going on. Who doesn't like a fairy tale marriage? We all start with that desire,
with your dreams, with the, as you say, the glint in the eye and so on, and the happy life.
Happy life.
Yeah. Because no one can really live alone. I mean, you need people around you.
Yeah, you do need
people. We are gregarious.
You do need. We are social by nature. We do need people. But we also need harmony and peace for a healthy life.
Space, and I think in India we don't give space to the other person. Yeah. That's another angle to the whole thing. Now I think we have talked for almost 30 minutes. I think now we should throw it open to the audience.
Yeah, it was really nice listening to both of you. Yeah.
You want to read the comments or something?
Yes, I'm just reading the comment. So One is from Mansi, which she says it's a comment. It's not a question, but what she commented is that being a female in India, don't you think we are fed up with the fact of being someone who will widely appreciate as a wife as she grew up instead of just letting her grow as she is, be it wild, reckless, free, and full of her opinions.
Fantastic, Mansi. That's an amazing statement you have made because generally we've been boxed in. You're a daughter, you have to behave like this. You're a wife, you have to behave like this. You're a mother, you have to behave like this. You are nobody. It's all role playing. And very true,
Absolutely.
very true. Why shouldn't we enjoy? And if we have not been fortunate to have that, are we doing it to our children? Are we letting them free? Are we allowing them to fall and tumble and have their own experience? Are we giving them wings? Are we setting them off? That's excellent. What do you say,
Yeah,
Jay?
I agree with you, Lalita, totally, because I think the one word, if you know the difference between freedom and liberty, I
Yeah.
think things work out well for us. Whether it's a single woman, working woman, whatever tag we want to put to the woman. But I want to ask you one question here. Divya, why do we always think the woman is the victim? Don't you think there are many men who are victims in society but do not talk about it?
Are there men in this call? I mean, can they respond to that?
Yeah,
Yeah, let
I
them
can't
respond.
see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
so if
we always talk about singlehood as a female perspective, but there are men, a lot of men who go through the same thing,
Where the
same
woman is
feeling,
very
same feeling.
dominating and unreasonable at times, the
Yeah,
man has a
absolutely.
terrible deal and he
yeah,
doesn't know what to do. He can't leave his children, so he hangs on to the wife. So, I mean, is
Right.
there someone who would like to talk about the male point of view in the
I
audience?
don't, yes, anyone, I am
let's see.
not sure. But yeah, Preeti just comments before that, absolutely agree. And yeah, if you have anything more to add, Preeti, you can just add or ask any questions. So there is one question on WhatsApp. Actually, someone just pinged me who was not able to join this live. So she says that um, is singlehood necessary? As you said, it's a rising trend, or is a living relationship also growing?
Uh, I think living in India also is catching on very fast. And there's no harm done so long as if you're happy in that relationship, it's perfectly all right. If it leads to a more permanent relationship, that's also fine. Because you see, do we deserve a second chance? This is something I overlooked asking. Don't you think every woman, every man, having made a choice, do you deserve a second chance or not?
I'm going to say something very controversial.
Hmm.
You know, again, these are very well thought of, and I, I
Okay.
am I am what I call a society watcher, and what I think, and I see it happening is that marriages relationship has a shelf life. Some of them may be a longer shelf life, or they're just it's okay, they're accommodating and going on. But in some cases it is not. And if you come to that dead end, it is better to to try, like she said, a second chance or a third chance. I mean, I can think of Larry King, who married 6 or 7 times, and they asked him, how come you marry so many times? But he didn't have affairs. He married the woman and uh, took care of them, because as much as you love, uh, you love somebody else. So if it's not working anymore, I think it's fine. But then we have to be prepared emotionally, mentally, for the consequence.
Absolutely. Yes.
Because there
Yes.
could be withdrawal symptoms. You could suddenly miss something. But I think those taboos. I mean, I read couple of years back, a government released data which said that, again, this is very controversial, but I could not have thought of it myself. I've read it in the Times of India. And it said that 60% of Indian marriages, there is infidelity. Whereas if you look at the official divorce rate, it's less than 1%. And I was just thinking, is there a technical value, technical aspect to it? Because if you take Haryana, Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu, the urban, like the metropolitan and the large cities, the divorce rate is as much as is in US or any other Western developed country. It's over 30%. It's almost 40% in these three states that I mentioned. And so it just shows, I mean, it is showing you a trend, as far as I'm concerned. It is showing you a trend that people have an alternative path, and that their own wellness, something is not working, why not try? I mean,
could I add something to that? You see, the very fact that you want change shows you have options today and you're willing to try it out. There's no harm done so long as, okay, or let me reword it. In the case of divorce, what happens is the children suffer a lot. And we are heading towards a generation of children with psychological problems because of our decisions, right or wrong. But then that brings us to, do we have a right to live a life as we want? So these conflicts will be there so long as the human race exists. We have to only make suitable changes and make the paradigm shift from time to time. We'll find our own way and probably bungle along or find the right partner and feel happy about it.
If I can add to that, I mean, you're right, children suffer. But it also depends on what is the relationship of that child with both the parents, how that person was as a parent, because finally, while the parent is one unit, it's how both of them are engaging with the child. In my own case, I mean, I generally don't want to talk about my case, but in my own case, my daughter, when she was 12 or 13 years old, I just asked her suddenly it struck me. It had not struck me before, but it suddenly struck me, and I said, do you miss having a father? And her answer of a young teenage girl was so so unexpected for me and so insightful, because everybody is intelligent in their own way, and they are observing. Children are observing and they are learning. And she said, I don't miss having a father, because you have been, a child needs only one sane parent, not two warring ones, she said. She said, you have been a sane parent. We are doing everything that both parents are doing. And what a silly question to ask is how she brushed it off, which turned out well for me. So it again depends on, because even for the child to be all the time being a witness to, not respect being shown to the parents, that also is troublesome, according to me.
It's traumatic, undoubtedly.
Yes, absolutely. So, Mansi just commented that not particularly a victimization, but what I'm trying to say is, belonging to an educated family, being an educated girl myself, I still face gender, particularly the biasness in our family. And that's not intentional or something, it's just natural because our parents are brought up like that. And I think I agree, like, yeah, this is how is our society, right? Yeah.
It is conditioning, actually. A lot of conditioning has gone into, I think, decades or centuries of the man's expectation of a woman in society, in the institutions of marriage, widowhood, so on and so forth. It's a one-sided expectation. I quite agree with her, you see.
But Mansi, I must tell you, oh, sorry.
No, please go on. No.
Mansi, but I must tell you, plod on. They will come and they'll start envying you. applaud or guide them and teach them, and because you're unique and you're different. That's how it's easy to be a part of a crowd, and to be an outlier, to be one step ahead, is always challenging. But you will make your point. But the thing is, you have to show success in terms of how you live with your life. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I would just like to add one. Yeah, yes, Ish, go ahead.
I mean, I would like to say we are all, life dishes out 52 cards for us, like a game or like a game of chess. It is for us to intelligently, prudently weigh the pros and cons before the decision is taken. Because if you are not capable of earning the amount of money which you need for a comfortable life, your husband is not going to give you that money, and you're going to be thrown on the street, then it's better to be prudent. So you see, we have to look at what are the pluses and minuses endured to us in life and take the best possible decision. I mean, it doesn't mean that we should not take decisions. Of course, choices have to be made, and we have to learn to live by those choices. Don't blame.
Absolutely.
My husband was like this. You know, there are two men I've come across recently, and they were divorced. And you know what they said? We don't blame my partner at all. It was two wrong people who came together. We rectified it, and now we look forward to the right person coming into our life. So I think that positive attitude to whatever relationship that life throws you or you get into consciously, we need to take a positive attitude. It's not easy, but if we do it, we are the happier for.
Right. So I would just like to add that as you were already talking on that, maybe the singlehood is rising, or the single, as you said that a lot of things are expected from girls. And I think, as you said, that now girls are getting independent, they are earning, they know how to leave. Earlier the times were different and the times are different now. That is one thing. But as you also said that, yeah, parenting does makes a main important role, especially for the son, to teach them that both are equal. Because I don't think we are still anywhere to equal. Like, even there is a lot of propaganda, but still girls are expected to work in the house. They are still expected to do the seva of their in-laws, be how they want to. And then your parents think that you have changed, and then in-laws think that you are not adjusting. So a lot of things are expected from girls but not from men. When you say, they might be a victim but very few, but all the things are only expected from girls. And I think that is the main reason maybe why it is rising. Even I have a daughter. Sometimes I really feel that she should not marry and live her life, even if I am married, I have a perfect husband, and he will be very good. But as you said, there are circumstances where at one point of time every girl might have felt that, let's divorce and go and run away, not you, me, or anyone. So I really like today's topic. And I think we are already
I
over
think
time,
Shesh
but
wanted to add something.
yes.
We have 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
I think Shesh wanted
You see,
to
what
add.
I wanted to say was, men, of course, are not expressive of their emotions, but society has expectations from men also. Let's be very honest. A non-performing, non-earning man is looked down on, and the wife gives it back to him, saying, "What are you doing sitting at home? You can at least go and do the utensils if you can't do anything else.
Be a man.
Be a man," sort of thing. So I'm
Absolutely.
sorry, I'm not taking up for the men. I'm very much for women. But the reality is, a man,
It's how
that he's supposed
society.
to look after his parents, but he's sandwiched in every marriage to a large or small extent in looking after the mother, his parents, you see, and in some cases the girl, her parents. So you see, the expectations of a man are also there.
Yes.
And you see, of course,
Yes.
when we're newly married, we think only the two of us should be there. Gradually, when the child comes, it's okay. But when the in-laws come, it's not okay.
Right. Yeah, so Preeti says that, like a closing, maybe before we close, she said that let's hope change will occur, or rather start with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful
Yeah,
sentence.
yeah.
She's really sent a strong message.
It's already started with me, and I'm 60 years old, and people wonder sometimes, and I'm saying, no, I'm complete in myself. You can't have anybody else trying to complete, because my identity or my respect for myself was overriding everything else, and one threaded with fear. There was nobody to look out for. There's not even your siblings wanted to talk to you on this topic,
Yeah.
and so you have to rough it out. You have to rough it out, and even today, nobody considers me as very unique or different. It's just me. So you have to. What I'm saying is, discordant living, I don't think is good for society.
Peace and harmony are a must.
Peace and harmony, because
Yes,
our individual lives are meant for a higher living. What is my purpose? This is how I think of it. What is the purpose of my life? How can I just be a rabbit in a cage? I mean, the lockdown has made us all rabbits in a cage, but our mind
absolutely.
is ticking. Our mind is
And
ticking.
today I was thinking of one thing. I was telling Lalita. You see, in Ramayana, Kaikai is such a cantankerous woman, if you have noticed. And she emotionally blackmails a king as a spouse. And she's self-centered, selfish. Much later, she realizes her mistake. So you see, our mythology has also shown this disparity in relationships.
Right.
Individual personalities ultimately decide what they want. Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you so much. It's been a
Yes, so it
pleasure.
was a really nice, yeah, topic. And thanks, Sesh, and thanks, Lalita, on this. And I think we
Yeah,
will have
thanks.
many more series.
Thanks for having us, Jigna, and thanks to everyone who attended
Thank you so much.
this live
Yes, and yeah, and
dialogue.
all the viewers, if you still have any more queries, you can still post in the comments. Sesh and Lalita, whenever they see, they might comment on your in this live video, which will be posted on the Facebook page. Thanks a lot. Yeah, Sesh and
Thank you.
Lalita.
Okay,
Thank
bye
you.
bye.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
All the best.
Bye.
Bye.